Hi everyone, and welcome to Grassroots Gaston's first podcast. I'm Jen and I'm tonight's moderator. With me tonight is Jeff Bryson, 2014 candidate for the office of Gaston County Sheriff, and Margaret, former regional director for Victory 2012 campaign. In full disclosure, let me say that I am an independent, and I tend to believe that political correctness is the suicide belt of America. With that being said, let's get started. First on the agenda tonight is gun control. In the wake of the Dark Night shootings and Sandy Hook school shootings, anti-gun zealots have gone the extra mile to try to get legal gun owners away from their guns. For example, we have Gerard Markham, the 8th grader, who was arrested for wearing his NRA t-shirt. Well, actually, he was arrested for interrupting the educational process. And then we have Master Sergeant C.J. Grissom, who was arrested in Temple, Texas, for rudely displaying a firearm. Now, Cloninger has been pretty good about protecting Second Amendment rights and protecting those who have gun permits. What would you do any differently than what he's done?
Well, first thing that I would do I would let the American or the citizens of Gaston County know that I think everybody should have a right to bear arms. And I'm saying that with a token of not mentally ill people. I'm talking about normal, everyday citizens out here. I think that they should be able to protect themselves at any given time, at their home, after work. There's a lot of places right now that we can't carry guns, and I think that the North Carolina legislators is working on that issue right now, trying to weed out some places that we can and can't carry concealed guns if you have a concealed weapons permit. I think when it comes to people owning guns and being responsible, each individual that owns guns has to be responsible for their person, their house. And when it comes to kids getting guns, they got to learn to lock these guns up, not have them where kids can get to them. And that's the part that we've got to keep stressing to the public. Now, as far as me personally, I have guns. I own a gun store. So I think everybody should be toting a gun that's legal.
My husband would like that opinion.
So
he just recently got his concealed carry, so he used to have his federal firearms license, and then the paperwork just got too crazy, so we gave it up.
One of the things that the sheriff is sending out letters to everybody that's really struck a chord with a lot of people, and they're talking about the part where you, as a concealed weapons permit carrier, your data may be given to somebody from the sheriff's department. And at the end of the letter, he says, if I have to give it up, I will. Well, I would say only way I will give it up is by the Supreme Court making me do that, because I don't think that data should be given out to anybody. When I say data, meaning your name, your address, how many gun permits you've gotten, and all that. So I think I would say to people is only way I would do that is if the Supreme Court made
you do it. That's right. That's the kind of answer we like to hear. Do you see any of this type behavior being allowed to happen here in Gastonia, where 8th graders would be arrested, or where a legal gun owner would be arrested for rudely displaying his gun?
Well, it comes down to common sense. The people in the school system is going way overboard with what we have laws on the books for. They're taking it personal and saying kids can't draw guns. They can't do it. Wake up, people. Smell the roses. That's what's wrong with our country now. Each person has to teach their kids about guns. When I was little, I was shooting guns when I was 7 and 8 years old. You know where I was shooting them at? At the Noon Optimist Club in the basement, shooting 22s, learning how to shoot guns. Nowadays, all they do is learn on video games. So that's not real. We was in the real world. That's not real. So I think that all these school systems, they need to get a handle on what is needed to be judged. And when I say that, if a kid draws a gun, that's not offensive. How can they get that offensive when it's the Constitution states you're allowed to have guns? So I don't understand that part. Now, as far as an 8th grader being able to wear a gun on his T-shirt, to me, they violated his freedom of speech right off the bat, because that's what America's about. You're allowed to have anything you want to wear on your, Now, if it said any bad language or anything like that, no, I don't think they should be. But when it comes down to just having a picture, no way. I hope it never happens when I'm sheriff, because me and the school board's going to have a fit over it.
And I understand that. Me and my husband have 2 daughters. We have a 28-year-old and a 22-year-old. And to be honest with you, when they were 4 and 5, they were shooting better than my husband. So so that's something that's really, near and dear to us. But like out in California, they recently passed a bill where they have made it legal to confiscate guns from people who have even the mildest, most mildest forms of mental illness, like depression. That's going to affect our veterans coming back. They're going to take their guns, and if anybody has a right to have guns, it's our veterans. How do you feel about that?
Well, mental illness is a stage where it's hard to judge. I can give you some examples right now that we're dealing with right now in the city where we've had to go out and take guns from people. One day they was good, and the next day they're bad. When I say bad, meaning they're getting their guns saying they're going to kill police officers. So that's a real fine line there. And I think that the accountability goes back to their doctors to be able to say, is this person okay to have a gun? Because I don't know as a police officer if that person's mentally, until he starts showing me some kind of expressions that he's aggressive or non-aggressive, as being able to figure out whether he needs guns or not,
Exactly.
So that's the part that I think that we're at the accountability is about to come back on the doctors to be able to sign an affidavit stating that he knows he's evaluated this person, that this person's is.
I think it should be based on a situation by situation basis.
It is. It's an individual basis. It's an individual basis. That's the reason I said it's up to that doctor to sign off on that.
Exactly. Okay. With that same thought in mind, let's move on to this new House bill that just passed, House Bill number 173, where they now are building the database in Raleigh to keep a list of our prescriptions and what we're getting from our doctors. I understand totally 100% why they feel they need it. I understand that they think that it's going to help them with drug seekers, and it's going to help them with street level drug crimes, and it's going to help them with doctor shopping. However, when it gets to the part of the bill where it talks about making this database available to law enforcement, that invades my right to privacy. It invades my HIPAA law, and it protects me in no way. And Alan Cloninger is for this. I've read several articles where he felt this was going to be a valuable tool in helping him fight law enforcement in Gaston County. And my answer to him is, if he's got street level problems with prescription drugs being sold, then he needs to fight that problem on street levels and not from our doctor's office. How do you feel about that?
Well, first of all, I want you to know that I am not for this bill. I think that the bill itself is like somebody looking behind your doors and want to know what you got in your medicine cabinet. As an individual, I don't want nobody to know out there what my doctor just prescribed to me. And I understand the part of the law enforcement, don't get me wrong. I understand that they're saying if we arrest somebody, we want to know what they're taking. Well, there's other avenues that we can take instead of going and getting into the personal lives of it. So I'm totally against that bill. Exactly.
In any other case, they would have to be forced to get a warrant and to get that information. And I rarely see any other instance happen where they shouldn't be forced to get a warrant to get my personal medical information. And it really shocked me to find out that Alan Cloninger was behind this bill and was pushing it. And actually, the entire state of North Carolina Sheriff's Association was pushing it. And it really floored me to find out that they wanted my medical information.
Well, if you go look at the state of North Carolina Sheriff's Association, a large percentage of them is Democratic sheriffs too.
I understand that. Well, it's just like with gun control. I mean, a few bad apples is causing the law-abiding citizens
to suffer.
Yeah, to pay the price for it.
Yeah.
You know. Okay, moving on. We are now to illegal immigration, and in 2010, a study conducted by the Pew Hispanic Center reports that there's approximately 250,000 illegal immigrants living in North Carolina right now. Now, granted, that is a drop from the reported 390,000
previous year.
Well, in 2006 is what they say. How much of that do you contribute or attribute to the 287G program?
Well, I hadn't seen the latest numbers come out of Allen's 287G program that the Gaston County is involved in, but I do know that there's not enough of information out there to the general public about this program. It's federally funded program, and I think the last time I remember, we've got 3 officers from the Sheriff's Department working in that program. Now, I don't know. I don't remember the figures of how much money he gets for the program, but when it comes to illegal, there is more people out there that's illegal than we would ever dream of. Not all of them's getting in trouble, so that total figure, that total figure, we don't know what that total figure is. The only ones we know is the ones that's getting arrested out there is the ones we know of.
Yeah.
So, you know, when it comes down to the 287G program, I think it's a good program. I think that we have got to beef up how we enforce this issue. Now, that is left up to the legislators to come up with ideas that we feed to them on saying, how can we stop this illegal? How you know, is it deportation time getting back? Because right now, if he arrests somebody and the feds say that they don't want to deport him, you know where they at? They're back on the street.
Exactly.
So, what good did it do me to arrest those people for whatever obvious reason it was, and then they found out that they was illegal? So,
Well, actually, being in America without proper paperwork is a crime.
yes.
If they commit a second crime and they're arrested, that's 2 crimes under their belt. How many crimes do we have to let them commit before we actually take steps to get them out of our country?
Well, see, that first of all, that first crime is a federal crime. You can't get the local people to do, or can't do anything with it. It has to be on a federal level. Well, right now we've got a president that's telling them not to do anything about it because he's wanting to give everybody amnesty so that he can get that next vote for the Democratic Party. So we got to fight from the very top president all the way down right now to figure out what we're going to do. And the bottom line is, they better hurry up and seal the borders because they think we have a flux in the last 10 years. We ain't seen nothing. In the next 6 months, there'll be as many coming across the border in 6 months. If they know they can get in this country and get here now before we seal the border and immigration goes into effect, they know they're going to get citizenship.
Well, I think most of the reason our illegal immigration population has fallen is because we have such a high unemployment rate. You know, in Gaston County right now it's 11%. North Carolina it's like 9.2%. And of course, the Democrats are going to want to give a lot of credit to Obama's immigration policy, and we know where that goes.
I don't have a problem with a person coming into the country that's legal. Matter of fact, I used to work for a company. I helped a friend of mine. He came from South America to become a citizen. It took him 5 years to become a citizen. He had to learn English. He had to learn history. He had to take classes. And then he had to go take a test. And then he had to go to Atlanta to get sworn in. So it's steps that you can take to become a citizen, and when they do that, I don't have a problem with that because I think that person has deserved the right to be a citizen.
They have earned it.
They've earned it.
They have earned the title of being an American citizen. Well, North Carolina recently voted to give illegal immigrants driver's license. Now, in America, driving is a privilege. It is not a right. It is not a civic right. It is not a human right. It is a privilege. Is that not sending a conflicting message telling them you're here illegally, but here, drive legally?
That sent a huge message. I don't, you got to remember that in Raleigh, you've got people pushing certain issues, and somebody has told a lot of stuff in law enforcement that we need everybody to have driver's license. I've arrested many people that the person said, I don't have driver's license, I don't have no ID. Well, I don't know who they are, and they've committed a crime. They go into jail. You know how they find out who that person is? They do their fingerprint from them. That's the true identity, not what that person has printed up over here next week that said he was one whoever, and there's 15 ones out there. They'll have 15 of them with the same name with the same social security number.
Exactly, and none of them paying taxes. Okay. I personally believe in the chain gangs. I believe that if we're going to put you in jail and we're going to give you a roof over your head and we're going to give you food to eat and we're going to give you a bed to sleep in, then you need to earn it. How do you feel about taking the prisoners out of our Gaston County jails and putting them on the streets?
That's exactly what I'm going to do. I think that right now we have inmates sitting up there and they're sitting in Hotel Gaston.
Exactly.
I call it Hotel Gaston because they're coming from all over Gaston County, and they're sitting up there. They're getting 3 meals in a cot. We call 3 meals in a cot a day. They're getting free medical, and we've got to make these people realize that jail is jail. Now, I understand that, you can't put everybody on work release. That's a gimme. Everybody knows that.
Exactly.
But there's certain people up there that can be put on work release that needs to be out here picking up trash on the side of the road, needs to be out here washing police officers' cars instead of us going and paying and having that done.
Exactly.
Save the county money.
Save the state money.
Save the state money. So.
Exactly. You are really surprising me with your answers. You really are. It's not what I expected. Our next subject, move right along. Do you have anything to add, Margaret? You're being awful quiet over
I know.
here.
I'm sorry. I don't.
You're just no. Okay, moving on. We're going to go to profiling next. I had this labeled as racial profiling, but then as I thought about it, from the people I talked to, it's more than racial. It's cuts along the line of income and lifestyle. I hear all the time from young people, I got pulled over because I have dreads, or I got pulled over because I'm riding a bike, or I got pulled over because I'm wearing leathers, or this, and I hate to think that it happens in my hometown, but I've talked to a couple of police officers and they've admitted that it happens. How would you handle that if you were sheriff?
Well, first of all, if they admitted it intentionally of doing it, they don't need to be police officers. That is something that I do not tolerate, is profiling. Because we have enough problems out here as it is. It's me picking at you and say, hey, I think you're doing this crime, or hey, you doing this crime. When you're a police officer, you got to keep an open mind on how you're going to look at what situation's at hand. Now, a lot of people goes and looks at police officers' citation issues of how many tickets they have issued, and was that person black, or was that person white, or was that person Hispanic. But a lot of times they have to take in consideration the zones that those people works in. Prime example, if I worked a zone of Gastonia and I worked the northwest zone versus the southeast zone, that line has already been drawn of how many people I'm going to be come in contact with on a daily basis of who they are. So that part right there, you have to, as when people start talking about numbers of who pulls what over, they have to look at where they at, because it means a big difference. Because one person in one zone, that person may see more Hispanics than they do white people, or another person may see more black people than they do white people. And one zone may see all blacks tonight, or one person may see all whites tonight and deal with them. It depends on where you at within Gastonia. Mm-hmm. That's that. I mean, it's laid out that way.
Exactly.
When it comes to zones, but I do not like that any kind of racial profiling. I think that stuff is not tolerated. It shouldn't be tolerated.
It shouldn't be. How about if this is the situation? You're patrolling a known drug area. it's a known drug neighborhood, and you see a young black guy leaving that neighborhood at 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, you ride that neighborhood every night. You know this is not his neighborhood. He is not part of your area. Would you pull him over?
It depends on whether I got a reason to pull him over. Just for him being in that area is not the reason for me to pull him over.
Okay.
Now, am I going to follow him? Yes. Am I going to see if he's doing anything wrong or illegal? Yes. But it's not against the law for a person to be in a certain neighborhood at a certain time.
What if it's a middle-aged white woman like myself?
It's still not against the law. Now, is it going to raise flags? Yes. But you got to find out what comes next. See, that's where it comes into being a good law enforcement officer versus what I call a rookie. Now, you might have a rookie that's going to go out there and pull that person over just like that. Well, a good officer is going to sit back and see what's this guy doing? What's he going to do next? And you know, that's an issue right there that comes with experience from officers of watching who's in his area and who's not in his area.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, and we will have this up on the net in the next couple of days, and I'll shoot you a message and let you know when it's there.
All right.